He's not here now, he's probably not coming.
No, we went up, actually.
At least it's only got a couple of things on the agenda.
Across from Cottonwood Cove for Easter weekend, and my grandkids, the grandkids came up and we camped. That was fun. And then last weekend, I had two cousins come in, one from Ohio, one from Tennessee, and a girl that used to work for me. It was her 50th birthday, and they were having a party up in Laughlin. So we went up there and we were able to put the boat in on the lake on Saturday. Oh, heck yeah, anytime we get a chance. My daughter and her friend came over from LA, and so we spent Saturday and Sunday, Saturday on the lake and Sunday on the river. And messed around, so that was nice. It's hard to get everybody together, with everybody's schedule. And since my cousins were coming in, my daughter said, I'll make it.
I don't have any family that lives close to mine. Kids live in Florida and Missouri, and see them every couple of 3 years.
Yeah.
The rest of the family, the wife's family, and the same place. Used to have a cabin up in Julie.
Hey guys, the grant committee's meeting this week.
Who is?
The grant committee is supposed to,
Is that right?
I think the 15th, but it might have, the guy who's the registered regional director is in Arizona right now. I wondered if maybe that was why he came. I asked him if he's heard anything. Well, the 6 months is running, and the first reporting period on that ACA grant is coming up already. So if we don't break ground, we're gonna be in hot water. That's the ACA, Arizona Commerce Authority. They've reorganized that again. Apparently, the new administration is really, but she said if they haven't called it back, then we're probably okay.
And what I wanted to say was, everyone's mad.
Did Jamie talk to you about this one?
People that you're mad at.
It's not really considered, it's really just a process.
This problem was created by somebody.
Yeah, and it's in here,
I can't even read that. Same problem.
but there's really no consideration of cost of action. I just didn't want you to
You
follow
wanna
on.
say something?
No, I mean, we do it every year for the housing, for CDG, for the fair housing. And you can if you need to.
Are we getting water tonight?
It's not really.
Water?
There's a shortage of it in Arizona, didn't you hear that?
That's California.
California too.
Yeah, there's really a shortage over there.
We didn't put water
I
out.
guess California's drying up. Maybe next, it will really fall into the sea.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be a great loss. Jerry Brown will go with him.
Was like not on the table. And they literally instead of walking to me, and they want to be this. And I couldn't do that.
Well, where's you gone to?
Did you ask him if
I
he
get
heard
so
anything?
excited when I know I'm coming.
No, I
to the
didn't
council
ask
meeting, I can't even eat breakfast.
Okay.
Right, we got to hurry.
No, I'm not.
I'm, Daryl, did you hear me say that Dawn had a procedure today?
What kind of procedure did you have?
Prostate?
What'll be done for? Yeah. Can you dial them there in? Let's see if I can stumble through this tonight.
All right, about ready to get started. Okay. I'll back you on.
Mayor, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thanks.
Hear him.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Would you please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Our Father who art in heaven, we humbly bow our heads, thankful for the opportunity to serve our community. Thank you for the insight that thou hast given us, that we might be able to make decisions for our community that would be profitable and in the best interest of our citizens of the community. We ask you to be with our military who give us this right to govern ourselves, to go ahead and take care of one another. We ask you to watch over and return them home safely. We ask you to be with our council members that are not here tonight, that they might join us at our next meeting. And this we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you for coming this evening. We look forward to everyone, the citizens that come and visit with us during these meetings. Introduction, presentations, and proclamations.
Roll call, please.
Oh, roll call. Roll call first.
All right, Councilmember McKee? Here. Councilmember Turner?
Here.
Councilmember Hatch? Here. Councilmember Best?
Here.
Vice Mayor Croft?
Here.
And Mayor Marley on the phone.
Here.
All right.
All right, we got everybody. Now let's do proclamations. A couple of them. First one is Power Talk 21 Day, April 21, 2015. There's somebody here in the audience that represents this group. Okay, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the town of Chino Valley recognizes the importance of parents talking with their teens about alcohol in order to reduce the risks and dangers posed to teens and communities. And whereas the high school students who use alcohol and other substances are 5 times more likely to drop out of school or believe good grades are not important. And whereas 27% of middle school students try alcohol before graduating from 8th grade, significantly increasing the risk that they will develop alcohol problems later in life. And whereas teen alcohol use kills 4,700 people each year, more than any other illegal drug combined. Whereas the majority of kids say their parents are their primary influence when it comes to decisions about drinking alcohol. And whereas Power Talk 21 Day started by Mothers Against Drunk Driving MAD in 2011 is established on April 21st, 2015 to encourage parents and caregivers to embrace their important role in influencing Americans' youth and their decisions about drinking alcohol. And whereas in 2015, MAD will kick off 21 days in support of 21, beginning on April 1st and culminating on Power Talk 21 on April 21st as part of Power Parents program to create a sustained and prolonged conversation about underage drinking among middle school and high school students. And whereas to equip parents to talk with their teens about alcohol, MAD Arizona during April 2015 will activate to give parents the tools to effectively talk to their children about alcohol to protect them. And whereas I urge all citizens to join in local and national efforts to raise awareness of the importance of parents and teens talking together about alcohol to reduce the risks and dangers posed to teens and communities. And now I therefore, Chris Morley, Mayor of the town of Chino Valley, do proclaim Tuesday, April 21st as Power Talk 21 Day in Chino Valley, Arizona, and urge all our citizens to recognize this observance. Thank you very much. And I'll go on to the second proclamation. This proclamation is a Fair Housing Month, and this is April 2015. Whereas the National Fair Housing Law of 1986, as amended by the Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988, prohibits discrimination in housing and declares it a national policy to provide within constitutional limits for fair housing in the United States. And whereas the principle of fair housing is not only national law and national policy, but fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans. And whereas April has traditionally been designated a Fair Housing Month in the United States, and now therefore I, Chris Morley, Mayor of Town of Chino Valley, do hereby proclaim April as Fair Housing Month in Chino Valley, Arizona, and urge all citizens to recognize this observance. Okay, let's go on to the next step, which is call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council concerning a subject that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. Total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, schedule the matter for further consideration, decision at a later date, or responding to the criticism. Is there anyone that would like to call to the public? Yes, sir. Supervisor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Craig Brown, Board of Supervisors Chairman and Supervisor for District 4. I just wanted to point out that many people may not be aware, but Route 66 is celebrating, another anniversary this coming year, and they're actually beginning the fun run this May 1st up in Seligman. And just wanted to invite all persons with antique cars or any type of love of cars to come up to Seligman and participate in the fun run. It's May 1st and Saturday, May 2nd. And there's a lot of different activities up there, including wine tasting and silent auctions and the fun run itself, and time to go up and go back to the 60s a little bit and enjoy that. And I must say that I enjoyed Casino Night the other night very much here in Chino Valley's Casino Night with the Chamber, and it was a great event, and Elvis was terrific. So, thank you.
Back to the 60s and 50s. Okay, thank you. Anyone else for? Yes, sir. Come up.
Mayor and Council, I'm Scott Freitag, Fire Chief for the Chino Valley Fire District and Central Yavapai Fire District. I will keep this as succinct as possible and give you as much information I can in a short period of time. You've probably read about us a little bit in the paper, maybe heard something on the radio or saw something on the television recently related to decisions in the Chino Valley Fire District to reduce staff by 3 full-time firefighting positions and 1 half-time or part-time front office staff. Obviously, we have all suffered through a very long recession that has seen limited growth since then. The Chino Valley Fire District lost about 45% of our revenue throughout the recession. Last year, or in this current fiscal year, we lost another 2.5%. Going into the next fiscal year is when Prop 117 kicks in, and Prop 117 put a cap on growth, moved us from the secondary to the limited values related to the taxes on residential properties, and capped that at 5%. So in this next fiscal year, we're seeing about a 2.68% increase in our net assessed values and our revenues. So under the limited, our secondary values went up 16%, but because we're no longer tied to that, we don't see that revenue. The cap of 5%, it really is not the cap. The way the property values are figured throughout Yavapai County, or throughout the state of Arizona, let me correct that, we're likely only going to see about 2.5% to 3.5% in increases moving forward for our organization. So how do we balance the revenue issue coming in with an expense issue directly related right now in part to PSPRS, which is something we don't have control over. State statute says we must pay this and that we must be involved in it, we must be signed up, and they just send us a bill and we have no say. We are currently working with the stakeholders and the legislatures, just as the PSPRS board is on reform, but that's going to be a lengthy process. So in order to get our budget in line and not continue to spend more than we take in, we had no choice at this point but to reduce force by those positions. What does that mean for here? We cut overtime by 40%, cut our budget by 40% in the overtime area. Sorry. And so when we get to a point that we run out of overtime money, that means that if we're down 2 people for a day, we only have 2 people left on one of the fire engines. We can't run it like that. We'll put them on a smaller, more maneuverable unit to continue running EMS calls, which are about 80% of our call volume out here, so we can continue to provide service. Once we're completely out of overtime money and we drop below that 2-person and we're down to 1, that's when we would brown out a station. Our hope is that we can avoid that. Our hope is to avoid having to drop down to the patrol due to a loss in our overtime, but we're just going to keep an eye on that and do what we can. Our firefighters are pitching in. We're still committed to the community to do the best that we can with the resources that we have.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else for call to the public? Yes, sir. Please come up.
Good evening. My name is Melvin Morris, and I reside at 2200 West Lazy Ranch Road, just right outside the Chino town limits on 3 North. I recently started a business here in Chino Valley. My main business is weed control. I am a certified, qualified applicator. I went through all the testing and requirements to perform my duties as a weed control applicator and a business owner through the state, and also my business license through Chino Valley. On April 1st, I was spraying a customer's home over near the pool in the rec center. It was a little breezy that morning, and I started about 11:30. Sorry, I'm just nervous, my first time doing this. But I would always apply the chemical to the manufacturer's recommendation. There's a label on each chemical that I use that is, the label is the law to that chemical. I follow all OPM rules and regulations. I use the proper PPE, protective equipment, per any chemical that I use. But during the job, I noticed 2 public works employees driving around in their truck. And I didn't pay much mind to it. They came in and out of the pool. And, my first time really working over there, I didn't notice anything wrong. I did run out of chemical, and so I went back to my home to fill up chemical, because if I can avoid it, I will not mix chemical at the customer's home, just for safety precautions. When I returned to the customer's home, it was probably a half hour later, he informed me that the 2 guys in a truck pulled into his driveway, came into his home, or not into his home, up to speak to him, to ask him how I was doing my job, if I was doing my job correctly. I've been spraying chemicals here in Arizona for over 5 years. I've never, ever had that happen between any town. I worked in Camp Verde, I worked in Sedona, I worked in many areas around this in Yavapai County. They started asking him and about entry levels and coming back into where I sprayed the chemical, and it just ended up being they had no idea what chemical I was spraying to even let my customer know what the restrictions were on that label. And that kind of bothered me. And as I was talking to my customer, they pulled back around and they went back behind the pool, and they kind of, way far down there.
Can I stop you for just
Yes,
a
sir.
minute? We can't deal with that here at the council. Would you get with Mr. Smith? Those guys work for Mr. Smith. He's the one that needs to deal with that issue, if you would, please.
I'd like to hear the rest of it. I'd
Well,
like
we
to
can
hear
do the
his
rest of it, but
complaint.
You need to get with Mr. Smith.
I know you're going to refer him, but I'd like to hear his complaint anyway.
Okay, and, well, if I'm allowed to finish, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, please.
Then I'll hurry up. They seemed to be staked out looking at me and my customer. And as they were doing that, it's almost like they were watching me like I was doing something criminal, like they were police on a stakeout. I went and I spoke with Chris Bartels over at the Public Works, and I told him the incident, and he kind of agreed with me what I was saying, that there was no reason why they interfered with me. But then he went on to tell me that the Public Works people are supposed to look out for things that don't seem right. And if they see something that's not right, then they're supposed to, interfere or find out what's, to fix that problem. And I just didn't know if, there was a law in Chino Valley that supersedes my weed control business over the EPA and the Office of Pest Management here in Arizona for spraying. And then, it's a lot of tests that I got to take and information that I got to take, to do my job. And what the requirements of these guys that went into this customer's house, I don't know what their certifications are. And,
Again, we appreciate your input. There's nothing we can do here, but I will ask you to get with Mr. Smith. And Mr. Smith, will you give us a report back to the council on what your resolution was? And let's put this baby to bed. We don't need, I don't know why, what went on, or whether the town exceeded their expectations or whatever, but thank you for bringing it to council.
Okay.
Please get with Mr. Smith and let's make a resolution to this issue.
I will do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Okay, let's go on to current events and summaries and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor, any council member, or town manager may present a brief summary or report of current events or ask staff member to provide the same. Presentation on information requested by mayor and council will be made and questions answered, and no action will be taken. Do we have a report on the site?
I would just mention that this is the week that our grant is supposed to be under consideration by the committee considering our grant. It's called the Investment Committee of the EDA. So hopefully it will go through.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, I was,
That's my best.
wanted to go ahead and make an apology to the mayor, who's not present, but I talked to him already. At a study session, I made an inappropriate comment, so I'd like to excuse myself and apologize to him publicly, because it's in a public meeting when I said it. That's all.
Thank you. Any reports on this side? I have one. Spring 2015 Chino Valley Citizens Academy is coming up. Those of you that have been to Citizen Academy, it is an in-depth look at the town. We also have the Chino Valley Historical Society, service clubs, the fire district, police. We have everybody that comes through, and we spend an hour and a half on every Thursday for 8 weeks. And it's beginning on March 14th, and it will go through July 2nd. So if you know anybody that would like to learn more about the town, would like to come to these sessions, we're looking for people that like. You can get a hold of the Chamber of Commerce, get a hold of Arlene Allen, who is the director, or anyone at the Chamber, and we can get you enrolled in the Citizens Academy. Yes?
Did you mean to say May 14th for the beginning?
What did I say? April?
March.
March,
Oh.
May 14th.
May 14th.
Sorry. May 14th, okay. Consent agenda. All these items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to move an item from the consent agenda to be considered and discarded separately. Does anybody want to pull anything on the consent agenda? Anyone on this side? Town clerk, would you read the consent agenda
Wait a
items,
minute.
please?
We needed to pull and correct one of the agenda items that referred to the judge as resigning. He retired, and it's in the minutes that he resigned. In fact, he retired. That should be corrected in the minutes. Let me see which one that is. Do you recall which one that is, Ms. McKee? Is that our last meeting? It was our last meeting, which would have been,
The 24th.
24th was the last meeting,
yeah, would have been the 24th.
and that's,
Was that not considered?
Mayor Croft, can you hear me?
yes, sir.
I'm having trouble making out the audio. It's real hard to hear you. Can you move the phone?
I see it's on page 16. It says, as prior to Judge Walker's resignation.
Okay, if we could pull that one so we can correct it.
Okay, we will pull, and that's agenda item.
Hey.
We will pull those minutes. Ms. Lewis, will you read the rest of the agenda items? We're going to pull A, consent agenda item A, and we'll deal with that.
A is pulled.
It is-
B, consideration and possible action to accept the March 26, 2015 special meeting minutes. C, consideration and possible action to accept the March 26, 2015 study session meeting minutes. D, consideration and possible action to appoint Laura Kyriakakis, Human Resources Director, as the town's voting member on the Yavapai Combined Trust Board, and appoint Cecilia Gritman, Assistant Town Manager, as the alternate voting member on the Yavapai Combined Trust Board. E, consideration and possible action to approve financial report for the month ended February 28, 2015. And F, consideration and possible action to authorize the mayor and police chief to sign individual letters of support for a regional assistance to firefighters grant.
Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept consent agenda items B, C, D, E, and F.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey,
Okay, let's go back to item A, and that's a minor change. So you'll need to do a Scrivener change to A, and with that change, can we now approve A?
Yeah,
there a
motion to
motion?
approve A with the changes.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Is he opposed or voting
No,
for?
no, you're slow.
He's slow.
no, I was slow.
Okay, let's move on to item 7, action items. The council may vote to recess the public meeting and hold an executive session on any item on this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431-03A3 for the purpose of discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney. Executive sessions are not open to the public, and no action may be taken in the executive session. Item A, consideration and possible action to approve agreement for interim presiding magistrate service with Kathleen J. Kelly in the amount of $5,000 per month for 90 days. Funds to come from the municipal court's budget. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I move that we approve agreement for the interim presiding magistrate service with Kathleen J. Kelly.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let's go on to item B. Consideration of possible action to establish a procedure for addressing code of ethics violations and to provide direction to staff to prepare an ordinance to be approved by council that will incorporate council recommendation in the town code. Is there any discussion from the council?
Yeah, Mr. Vice Mayor, I really think that we should keep our town attorney out of this. She answers to all of us, and I have some examples, if you'll allow me to show, the way other towns have handled disputes between council members. They've referred them out to separate counsel. I think either we should go with the impartial hearing officer, or at least an outside counsel, if I may show them.
Sure.
You want to put those on? There's a couple of PDF files. If you pull them up, oops, that's not mine. It's the Kingston. Oh, wait, Goodwin. Whoops, go back. Should be the Kingston Drive. Okay, Goodwin Serial Communication PDF. Okay, in this case, there was a little problem with some council members. If you can come down here, you can tell this is our law firm. And if you can see, Mr. Frank Cassidy is the in-house attorney, and this involved several council members. And what happened was the attorney requested an outside impartial law firm, which happened to be Ms. Goodwin, review this issue. And she did so, and she interviewed each council member. And if you'll move it up a little bit. There were two issues here. One was involving emails, and the second one was serial meetings. This serial meeting issue is one that we frequently face, and a lot of council members are not aware that it's a violation of the open meeting law for one council member to call 3 or more separate council members to discuss things. In any
Vice Mayor,
case,
I'm sorry, I need to interrupt because we are off the subject. The
no, this,
subject-
I'm using this to show as an example.
Excuse me, I am talking.
Okay.
I have the floor. It appears that what Councilmember Hatch is speaking about is an open meeting law violation as opposed to an ethics complaint. What is on the agenda is a discussion by the council of the procedures to address the ethics complaints that, or the ethics complaint that this current ethics complaint as well as future ethics complaints. We are talking about a procedure. We are not talking about a violation of open meeting law, which is a totally different subject.
Okay, if we can move to the next one, I'll show you one where there's a dispute between two council members where there's an ethic complaint. Peoria, please. I'm sure that Ms. Smiley is aware of this one. This is also one where she originally opined. They hired her as an outside attorney and she offered an opinion. Kind of move it up, and I want to show you here what this ended up being a fight between two council members. Part of it was an open meeting law, but as it proceeded on, Ms. Smiley, as an outside counsel, by way of background, opined that there was a violation of the open meeting law. The county attorney did not agree, researched some additional things. If you want to move this up, please, a little bit more. They show that this, more. Keep going. Here, come back down. The ethics test, they have a handbook which shows questions you should go through in terms of the ethics test. Have I defined the ethical question problem accurately? How would I define it if I stood on the other side of the fence or I placed myself in the other situation? And so on and so forth. After going through what happened and what was presented, this resulted in an ethics complaint. And it's common practice to keep, your town attorney is the attorney for all of the council members. And in considering an ethics violation, our mayor and vice mayor should not be referring it to someone who answers to the entire council. It should either be going to someone out the outside to avoid any potential for conflict of interest, or it should be going to an outside hearing officer. I also think something like this should be included as a guideline for council members to be asking themselves questions as to whether this is really an ethics issue or not.
Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions from the council? Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm having a hard time figuring out exactly what your point is, Councilwoman Hatch, as far as this is concerned. These were some questions that were brought up by the mayor to put into place, and our council looked them over with the best interest of the whole council in mind, I believe, and just made some suggestions on verbiage changes and so on and so forth. So I'm not sure what.
This is new. This is not our original. This is not our original document.
Right.
In this, our attorneys also say that in lieu of the council considering it, you can have an independent. If you read this document, part of what was released, you can have an independent hearing officer, which I'm addressing.
Okay.
I'm addressing the conflict of interest. Secondly, the mayor suggests is that we should turn it over to our attorney, and I'm raising the issue is that our attorney answers to all of us. She should not be placed in a position where her job, her pecuniary interest, depends on 4 members of this council continuing the contract with her, just as we may have a potential conflict in that kind of a situation. It is better to keep her out of it and to use a separate law firm or to go with an independent hearing officer in any case, because it avoids a problem.
When I look at this, I don't think our attorney is making a decision. Our attorney is making sure that we're doing the right thing according to procedures. This item was postponed from the March 24th council meeting to allow disclosure of an attorney-client privilege document that provides recommendations for changes to the procedures. These recommendations were incorporated in the current version of the procedure in the council's packet tonight. The town of Chino Valley, like many other municipalities, has a set of guidelines concerning the ethical behavior of its elected and appointed officials when conducting business and dealing with other council members, staff, business associates, and the general public. These standards of conduct are ineffective without a process for identifying and dealing with any behavior that would constitute a violation of town code. The process set forth in this agenda item establishes a method for the town council to deal with concerns of unethical conduct of town elected and appointed officials. This is not an indictment of any public official, but is a part of a self-policing process to be used by the town council in the future. The procedure has been reviewed by the town council. Her comments are incorporated in a document. I support this heartily, and I'm asking for a motion.
Comment?
I move that we accept those amendments as put forth in our in the packet on page 58.
We have one other question. Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure I understood Councilwoman Hatch. So your issue is not with what we're looking at tonight right here. Your issue is how this will be dealt with on May 12th?
It is part of here. We're going to ask our attorney to do the town code. The mayor recommends we refer it to our town attorney once we meet those. And in this section, it has our mayor or vice mayor referring it to our town attorney. I think that our town attorney needs to be kept out of it. I think it needs to be referred to an independent attorney rather than our town attorney. And the procedure here requires them to refer this to our town attorney.
Thank you. Ms. Smalley, is there a problem with the town attorney doing this procedure? I know that you sent us some changes to the procedure, and we've incorporated them.
Okay. Yeah, Vice Mayor, what we did was we looked at what is currently in the town code, which says merely, I mean, it's very scant. It just says that once a complaint is made, the complaint will be addressed by the council, I'm trying to find the exact wording, within 60 days of receipt. So it doesn't say what the town council is going to do with it. So we looked at this, and we looked at some other codes and some provisions from other cities and towns, and we found, and the mayor provided his input, and we just outlined this as a procedure. So this kind of takes what is in your code now, saying the council's going to address it within 60 days, and says this is what the council's going to do. There's nothing that would prevent you, and I would say many cities do, find that an outside hearing officer who is independent is the perfect way to go. What happens in some of these cities is that when a complaint comes in, it goes to the outside hearing officer. The outside hearing officer collects all the information from the complainant as well as the person who's alleged to have violated the ethics code and has a hearing. And then after the hearing, the hearing officer makes his findings or her findings and reports back to the council. And then the council, based on the recommendation from the hearing officer, makes some sort of decision as to whether there was a code violation and what the punishment or penalty, if any, should be.
So this is not a binding decision, this is a recommendation?
Usually by the hearing officer, yes, it's a recommendation. It could be a decision that could be appealable to the whole council. There are no state laws on this, so it's kind of, at the discretion of the council. And this is a really good time to have that discussion to decide what the council wants to do with this.
I understand Council Members Hatch's concern, and that's another way of doing it. I personally think it's a responsibility of the town council to police itself, and that it should be done in the town council. And again, I've asked for some kind of motion.
I think the mayor gave you one.
The mayor's given a motion. All right, I'd like a roll call vote.
We haven't had a second.
There's a second?
I'll second it.
There's a second. I'd like a roll call vote, please.
I'm having a problem because I personally would want an impartial person, and this doesn't include it. And the motion does not include an impartial person. I'm all for policing ourselves, but there's nothing wrong with having an impartial decision. I'm all for us policing ourselves, but I really think that to be completely fair and not to turn this into a political issue where you're purely voting based on your political bent, that it really needs to have an impartial.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. I call for a roll call vote. Please.
Councilmember McKee?
No.
Councilmember Turner?
Yay.
Councilmember Hatch?
No.
Councilmember Best?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Croft?
Yes.
And Mayor Marley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Passes 4-2.
Let's go on to item 8, executive session. An executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431-03A4 for discussion or consultation with the town attorneys in order to consider his position and instruct the town attorney regarding the town's position on a contract that is subject of negotiation concerning acquisition of a portion of the city of Prescott water system. And this was from Bill Stoudemire, water attorney. I think his representative is here from his office. And is there a motion to go into executive session?
I make a motion to go in executive session.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll adjourn the executive session. Get everybody out here, we'll adjourn.
Are you going to take action, Darrell?
No. No action. During our executive session, there was no action taken, and I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Supposed to do that.
We're adjourned.